We're now ready to audit this patient's exam. When we audit the patient's exam and we open the exam screen, we have the option of all of the different types of exams that are available, whether it's the 95 guidelines or the 97 guidelines under the 1997, whether it's the general multi-system or it's the various specialty exams. So we can choose a general multi-system, or we can choose body areas and organ systems under 95, or just body areas. Whichever exam we choose, that's going to be identified on our reports with either a 95 or a 97 to let us know from glancing at the report which exam we chose to audit under. Also, one of the things I most appreciate about Intelicode is that you can actually audit under both, and the system will keep both, the software will keep both tracked for you, and at the end it'll let you know which was more beneficial. If you choose one of the 97 exams, then you'll have to choose each different area or system that you want to track. And then as you're auditing, if you say, yes, we had the 3 vitals, yes, we had the general appearance of the patient, we had the pupils and irises, we had all of the different exam elements that we would have evaluated and identified. Also notice, just like it kept track in the history, it's going to keep track here. So for example, it shows us it's the 97 guidelines, and so far we have a focused exam. Once I click on the 6th element, remember 1997 guidelines, 1 to 5 is problem focused, 6 to 11 is expanded problem focused. It tracks that here for us. Also notice, so far it's identified that we have a 99213. Remember, we had a comprehensive history. Now, so far we've got an expanded problem focused exam, so we have a 99213 that's supported at this point. We've got, if we're going to look at the different joints, bones, and muscles, then we'll have to choose the different body areas. And again, we have to open that up to choose that under the 1997 guidelines. So look at what we've chosen under 97 so far. We've got constitutional, the 2 elements there, the 2 bullets there, under eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and throat, neck, cardiovascular. Let's say he also listened to the lungs, the patient's lungs. And we've got some other evaluations involved there. Now let's say, well, I've audited under 97. I want to look at under 95. Let's go down. We'll choose body areas and organ systems under 95. And let's say, well, we know we had the neck. We had constitutional. We had eyes. We had ears, nose, mouth, and throat. We had cardiovascular. And we had respiratory. Notice that when we clicked our 5th body area organ system, it changed from expanded problem focused to detailed. Now remember, to the 1995 guidelines, it says 2 to 7 body areas or organ systems examined is either expanded problem focused or detailed, depending on the judgment of the auditor. And this is where you make that judgment call. If you're in an area where your Medicare carrier says 2 to 4 is 2 to 4 is expanded problem focused and 5 to 7 is detailed, then the software is going to do that for you automatically. However, if you're in an area where it doesn't make that distinction, you have to make that judgment call. Well, let's say we've looked at this note and, well, yeah, we've got 5 or 6 body areas, organ systems, but this note is just not detailed in my judgment. I can come down here and I can click limited, and it takes it from detailed to expanded problem focused. Look at that again. I've clicked 5 body areas, or 6 body areas and organ systems. And remember, software can't make those judgment calls. All it can do is respond to what we've clicked. We've clicked those 6, so it tells us we have a detailed exam. But as the auditor, I say, that's not detailed to me. And I click limited. It brings it back to expanded problem focus. So you have that flexibility to make that judgment call. Conversely, let's say that we only had 3 organ systems examined, but there was a lot of detail on those organ systems. Let's say in the cardiovascular, we had the peripheral vascular system, we had the cardio. He talked about the carotid arteries, he talked about the jugular venous distension, he talked about swelling in the extremities. A lot of information about the cardiovascular system. We can say, this, in my judgment, this is detailed, and we can say there was an extended exam, and it counts it as detailed. Even though there were only 3 organ systems, we've counted it as detailed because we, as the auditor, I made that judgment call. Remember also in the 1995 guidelines, there is the comprehensive examination of a single organ system. Don't have a lot of guidelines as far as that's concerned, but again, if you've made that judgment call, you can click complete exam of a single organ system and come up with a comprehensive exam. Again, you're making those judgments. Well, let's step back and say, well, you know what? I don't think that this was very detailed. We had lots of information, but I don't think it was a detailed exam. So I'm going to step back and say it's a limited exam. Or let's say we did say it was a detailed exam, and we've got detailed exam here. So we remember under the 97 guidelines, we audited it as expanded problem focused. Under the 95, we say it's detailed. What happens if we move on? We've got it audited under each way. When we get to our final screen, we'll have to make that judgment. We'll have that information there. Now notice under exam, once we said it was a detailed exam, we ended up with 99214 here. If we go back and we say, under the 97 is expanded problem focus exam, we've got 99213. So the software keeps track of both. It's going to let you know at the end, which is going to be more beneficial for that level of service. If we want to say 95 versus, or we want to say 97, the software is going to track both for us. That's the exam screen. You do have the options. Again, we could even go in and say, okay, well, this was a ENT doc. I think I want to audit under the ENT guidelines. It's going to allow us to do that third exam under here. So we would, constitutional, head and face, eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and throat. All of the different elements that we want to check under ears, nose, mouth, and throat. And it's going to track it under the ENT specialty specific exam guidelines. So we have the option of all of the different types of exams, and again, the software is going to track each of those for us. We didn't lose what we tracked in the other system. You can see if we change back to the 97, or if we change back to the 95 body, ears, and organ systems, the software has continued to track that for us. That's the exam screen. It does not take away any of the judgment calls that you need to make as far as which system this exam element fits into, whether this is a detailed exam. All of that is still required of the auditor. This just helps you count those beans and keep track of what beans you've counted.